Good morning and welcome. It's Corporate Governance Platform, brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. I am Funmi Omoburiowo. Today we want to look at importance of committee system in corporate governance. Importance of committee system in corporate governance. All right, our guest this morning is Mrs. Bukola James Cole, ACIS. She's Head Capital Market Deputy Registrar, African Prudential PLC. Good morning, Mrs. James Cole.
Good morning, Funmi Omoburiowo. Thanks for having me on board.
All right, good to have you right here in the studio with me. And of course, here is Mr. Kayode Ketefe, FCIS Head of Research, ICSAN. Good morning, Mr. Ketefe.
Good morning, Funmi. Good morning to you, our guest, Mrs. Bukola James Cole, ACIS, and good morning to you, all our listeners.
All right, of course, let's take this message and we'll be right back.
The world is constantly evolving into a knowledge-based economy where skills and competencies constitutes the lifeblood of public and corporate governance. You therefore need to empower yourself to fit into this new world by gaining basic knowledge and improving your skill set in the governance-focused disciplines. That is why every aspiring as well as practicing professional in governance field needs ICSAN.
ICSAN. What is ICSAN?
ICSAN is a leading statutorily established professional body dedicated to enhancing the status and practice of corporate governance and public administration. ICSAN members are trained as chartered secretaries and administrators.
Who are chartered secretaries and administrators?
Chartered secretaries are high-ranking governance professionals with a broad base of skills, unique amongst other professions. They are trained in law, finance, accounting, administration, strategy development, and corporate governance. In today's world, chartered secretaries and administrators discharge a wide range of duties and responsibilities, including functioning as chairmen of companies, executive directors, non-executive directors, company secretaries, risk managers, compliance managers, board evaluators, and corporate governance evaluators.
That is interesting. How then do I become a chartered secretary and administrator?
Good. Go to the Institute's website, www.icsan.org. You can also visit the National Secretariat of ICSAN at Plot 6, Elephant Cement Way, Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos, to get full information on how to become members. ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
All right, ICSAN, definitely the hub of governance professionals. Like I said earlier, we're looking at the importance of committee system in corporate governance. All right, Mrs. James Cole, let's look at the committees. What are the committees that are traditionally recognized in corporate governance parlance as board committees?
Okay, the board is usually set up to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in an organization. Hence, the committees that will be set up are Nomination and Governance Committee. We have also the Remuneration Committee. We have the Audit Committee, and then we have the Risk Management Committee. Those are the four basic committees that should be set up for every enterprise, organization, or institution.
All right, so let's look at this committees one after the other and look at the roles they play.
Okay, the Nomination and Governance Committee typically is saddled with the responsibility of nominating members for the oversight function and the matters of the committee. They are the ones that will be responsible for nominating the non-executive directors. They're the ones that will be responsible for nominating the INET, and that's the independent non-executive director. And all of these directors are nominated to review structures, to review sizes, to review the composition of the organization. And in nominating all these directors, skills like knowledge, experience, diversity are things that should be brought to bear to determine who is fit to sit on these committees.
Okay.
Looking at also the committee responsible for remuneration, this committee is responsible for ensuring that the remuneration policy and framework are properly developed such that the performance and evaluation of the team, the management team and the board of directors are properly done to distill the required participation of the directors.
And the other ones?
The committee for audit is usually a much more extensive committee. The committee for the audit would usually require a financially literate and knowledgeable person in terms of accounting, financial businesses. This person must be able to understand accounting, financial management, and these people also must be able to interpret financial statements. They are always very skilled because they're going to ascertain the composition of financial statements. At times they do it with external auditors. They also review findings in management papers and letters. They make recommendations on appointments or removal of external auditors. They have quite a skill and responsibility to perform because it deals with interpretation of financial documents or statements, and then they also oversee the process of identifying fraud, risk within the financial system, which is also something very, very, very important in the financial system and something that occurs, very frequently. They preserve auditors' independence in the sense that an auditor is supposed to ensure he scans the environment of the organization and then reports directly to the board of the audit, and that way the independence of the auditor is secured so that there's no interference whatsoever. And then the final committee will be I think I've mentioned the risk committee. So the risk committee is a very, very important committee because they are also saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that whatever risk may ensue or is possible or would possibly happen or crystallize are already seen earlier on and then mitigated ahead. So that committee is also set up to ensure that all those areas are covered.
All right, great. We've looked at the rules, of course, nomination and governance, remuneration, audit, and risk committees. Now, there's a stipulation in the code that independent non-executive directors, as integral members of all these committees, why do you think this is a requirement?
Okay, so the independent non-executive directors I always call the INET. So there's this independence that they bring. There's a high degree of objectivity that they bring to the board for sustenance, for trust, for confidence, and that's why that independence is really emphasized. They represent a strong independence voice of the board. Usually, they are interpreted as independent because they are not meant to materially own shares in the company. In that way, their decisions are not impaired in any way. Also, it's expected that they shouldn't have relatives or directly related to the board, to the directors, to the family, so that whenever they take decisions, they are able to take it independently.
All right. Now, why do you think the code states that the chairman of the company should not head any of these committees?
Okay, so the chairman of every organization, institution, is said to be the one that sets the tone of leadership and has the oversight function of what the organization does. I mean, I can easily liken it to a football pitch where you have the umpire, and the umpire is at the end watching the performance of every player on the field. And then if he's on the field, he won't be able to have that sight to see all that is happening on the field. And it's by the virtue of him being an umpire that is able to manage what's happening on the field. That's typically the role of the chairman. So he's the overall leader, and then he is seeing what the committees are doing, and they are reporting to him, and he is able to enforce leadership and demand the constructive performance of this board of directors.
All right, I want you to, expatiate to us ways in which board committee system contribute to corporate governance.
Okay, they contribute to corporate governance because they enhance and they instill confidence in the organization. they enhance, they entrench that governance in terms of all the policies, in terms of all the skills, ensuring that the board committees have the diversification of skills required, the experts of skills. Then it even goes as far as the gender composition, ensuring that you have fair representation of the gender, so that decisions that are taken at every level of the committee, brings back and derives the best in every organization.
All right. Now, is it necessary for a small company to establish all these board committees?
From all that I have been saying, I think it's important that even the small companies establish all these committees, because there's what you call sustainability. Today, if you have a small company, there's a very, very, very high possibility that small company can become the biggest. But how will the company become that biggest company today? Is when you start ensuring that you entrench things like governance and you follow the rules, the policies, the principles. Then from the beginning you adhere to those principles and then give room for expansion and growth.
All right. Now, is it desirable that these committees be replicated in the public sector as well?
Well, yes, it is desirable. Of course, we're all in the economy today and we see what's happening. I believe the establishment of professional standards and ethics, would underscore the value for the protection and enhancement of reputation of every public sector organization or institution, because it will promote good conduct, it will promote good value, and at the end of the day, these leaders are held accountable for what they are, what they are doing, and that way you contribute value, you are held accountable, and because you're going to be held accountable, then you would go all out and do all that is required of you.
All right, great. So what advice do you have for the companies on needs to get right the composition of their committees?
My advice for companies that need to get first of all, they should just follow the principles of the Code of Governance. They should ensure they enshrine a proper board. They should constitute a proper board. Ensure that in constituting the board, you have the chairman. The chairman shouldn't be the MD for any reason. You should have your executive director. You should have a non-executive director. You should also have an independent non-executive director. You should have a company secretary who would liaise within all these directors and ensure that the meetings, which is the vehicle for meeting and understanding all the transactions within the organization, occurs at least twice a week. It's standard to be 4 times, but at least you must hold it twice a week. And then you must also ensure that there's an assurance platform where the internal auditor compliance to your internal auditor, your compliance office, to ensure that you're complying to regulations, FIRS, and all the regulations that kind of like applies to the institution, organization that you work on. And in doing all that, your relationship with your shareholder is also key. You must also ensure that while you are managing and ensuring that you're on the board and the board is living up to expectation, your relationship with your shareholder is key, so that you're building that objective that all of you together formed. And at the end of the day, ensure that you're ethical in your business running.
All right, Grace. Great. Right there. Mr. Ketefe, let me come to you now. What advice does the Institute have for the companies on the need to get the composition of their committee right?
Umi, thank you very much for this question. Let me start by saying that the committee structures contributes a lot to good corporate governance, because to start with, the committee system itself was deliberately developed in corporate governance to make the work of board of directors easier and more efficient. Each of the committees has specific responsibilities which are very, very important, and the performance of this function enhances board effectiveness by virtue of the fact that the committee, while they focus on specific areas that is delegated to them by the board itself is able to concentrate on more strategic agenda. So it is for this reason that ICSAN the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria is hereby advising companies and organizations to ensure that they get the right structure, the right mix, the right formation in their committee system in order to reap the inherent benefits. Fortunately, our institute can also assist in this regard by giving guidance to companies and other organizations on the issue of board composition, on the issue of effective use of committee system and allied matters. Our training department also constantly features teams on board composition and committee system, which those seeking knowledge in this area can attend to boost their capacity. So for all inquiries relating to ICSAN training, please call Mike on 080-2311-7969. Mike on 080-2311-7969. Thank you and have a pleasant day.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kadikete, ACIS, Head of Research, ICSAN. In like manner, I thank Mrs. Bukola James Cole, ACIS, Head Capital Markets Deputy Registrar, African Prudential PLC. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me on the program.
All right, that's it this week on Corporate Governance Platform, brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. We'll return again next week, Wednesday, 10:15 a.m. right here on Equator 9.7 FM. I am Funmi Omoburiu. Enjoy the rest of the day.